Today we are bringing you another episode of the PIPCAST 3000, but before we get into that, there is something that does just need to be said.
Yeah. I'm Caedo Genesis, and I wrote this down so I didn't mess it up, because there's a lot of things going on in the US and around the world right now that's pretty important, on top of the pandemic we're dealing with. So, police brutality and excessive force need to come to an end. George Floyd was killed by Minneapolis police on May 25th. Floyd was stopped by law enforcement for using a counterfeit $20 bill. He was suffocated by the officer holding him down until he died, all while pleading to be allowed to breathe. The event was recorded and now has been a tipping point for U.S. citizens in many other countries to stand up against excessive force and demand reform. I, personally, have never been one to physically show up to protests, and if you're like me, you may wonder what kinds of things you can do instead to help the Black Lives Matter movement. One of the biggest is to listen and stop being ignorant to reality. I myself and Sarge have linked several resources below and hope to honor George Floyd's memory by pushing for change. If you are protesting in your city, please wear a mask. We are still in the middle of a pandemic and there's no vaccine as of yet. This is by far the craziest year I've personally experienced, and no doubt many others. And the most I want for people is to be as safe as possible. Campaign Zero and other resources have been linked below. Like I said, please keep yourself informed. At the absolute minimum, this is so important.
Obviously, with all that said, this might be a bit of a strange podcast, and apologies for that. We're gonna try and kind of cover things as normal, but there's definitely gonna be kind of bad clouds hanging over all of this for a while, so apologies that this will not be the standard cheery, hey, video games are fun kind of podcast. And yeah, we will continue from this point almost as normal, but by far the most important things that we will likely ever say or in our podcast have just been said. There's a ton of links down below. If you want to stop the podcast right now, not come back at all, and just click on all those links, I'd be happier you doing that than carrying on and just being like, I'm just going to ignore that part.
Yes. Sarge speaks for both of us. Yeah. if you would rather learn about the different things you can do instead, please do.
Yeah.
But onward and upward to whatever else we have to talk about.
Yep.
This is our bi-weekly podcast where we talk about gaming news, and in this case, important news in the world, and Fallout, and the things we like to enjoy playing. Jared of Jarred Gaming is not here today. He's indisposed. He's meeting up with a friend doing something. At least that's all we know. And we had a fun topic about where the next Fallout we think should be. And in the podcast, Sarge and Jared were talking about China and London, right? Being the two places they'd like to see Fallout take place, somewhere outside of the US. And there was a lot of comments on that video, and so this is the first multi-comment of the cast that we have. We have from Turquoise Gravy 7, MC 1976, Louis Santiago, Joe the Modifier, Oscar Leonardo, and the Berry Zoo all suggested New York. Oh, except for the Berry Zoo. Suggested Louisiana, and more specifically New Orleans.
I did actually ask before the Pipcast about that one.
Yeah, you asked before that, but I didn't. It didn't register. So the Berry Zoo you got added to it anyway, because I thought it was everybody who asked New York, but or who suggested New York. But yeah, so New York is a pretty popular choice for a possible Fallout game, probably because there's just so much there. Yeah. It's a huge city in the U.S., and if there was a time where it could take a Fallout could take place in that region, I think there would be a lot to discover, and like Fallout 4 have a lot of verticality to its exploration as well, which would be fun and interesting and deadly in many ways, I'm sure. I'm not sure what else would be added, But yeah, so our news, we're progressing upwards from the negative to positive. Sarge was very nice to organize this. So what's this first one there, Sargy?
First one is that Valve have delayed the Summer Steam Game Festival. So, when I first added this, I actually thought it was the Steam Summer Sale, which we're all familiar with, but the Steam Game Festival, which was originally scheduled to begin June 9th, is now going to run June 16th to 22nd, and it's supposed to be, it is kind of an online video game festival kind of thing, where, I'll quote here from the Polygon article, all things as standard are still going to be linked below. Valve promises time-limited demos or short playable experiences from upcoming games and a chance to connect with participating developers of those games during the event. So, I somehow have completely missed this whenever it's taken place in the past, because it's the third time this is happening.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it sounds like an interesting little thing. But literally the only reason I learned about it is because it's delayed, though. So,
yeah,
probably needs a bit more publicity in the past.
Delays are a bit frequent. Like something we come to expect at this point.
Yeah.
From the beginning of the year, pretty much.
Apparently, this also was supposed to run week of E3, and I imagine that's what it's done the past couple of times as well. Hence, it's just been not reported on quite so much because E3 is happening, which honestly feels a bit foolish to me. Like, you don't have it at the same time as E3.
Yeah.
But this year, there's not a proper E3, so we've noticed it exists.
Yep. Maybe leave some room for other events that can happen around the same time.
Yeah, but so June 16th to June 22nd, so not long away. The Steam Summer Festival is going on, probably worth a quick look into if you're interested in video games, which you're listening to this podcast, you probably are.
I would hope so. Is my mom listening? Hi, Mom. Mom doesn't play video games.
I was about to say, my sister might be listening, and I was like, no, my sister plays video games, so does my mom. Even my dad's played a few video games.
Yeah. I got my mom to play VR one time. It took a little bit of convincing. Skyrim Grandma, also known as Shirley Curry, she uploaded a bit of a tough video about how her health is being affected in a negative way when it comes to dealing with her channel and the people commenting on it and that kind of thing. It sounds like she's getting a bit of burnout. Like if it's talking about just general YouTuber stuff that's going on, it seems like she's getting a serious case of burnout. And she was talking at the very beginning about her blood pressure spiking wildly, just due to how much she's investing in reading comments and replying to people, and even the comments that she doesn't particularly like. It sounds like she had been like commenting or replying to those as well, just to like correct them or something like that, because I don't think anybody particularly likes backseat gaming, like especially if you've been doing something for so long, and Shirley obviously has with Skyrim. And one of her main frustrations was other people telling her how to play or giving her suggestions almost nonstop, and then after she would say no, she would be countered with why, or why don't you do this, or kind of thing. And I mean, ultimately that can become pretty patronizing after a while, because you're just like, I'm just playing my game, man, get off my back.
I was gonna say, everything she was listening to, I was just like, oh yeah, this is just the standard stuff that happens kind of thing. And but there was a lot of news articles and stuff that were kind of hyping up to the extreme and over-exaggerating, which is never helpful.
Maddie comment on that's like, this video compared to like almost so many of her prior videos. This one's got like over 300,000 views at this point. and a lot of her videos prior have 10,000-ish or so.
Yeah.
And it shows how much publicity this topic in particular got, but it's not. I mean, it doesn't seem like it's the good kind.
No.
It's more just like her addressing her fans that like watching her stuff, not necessarily all the news wants to get involved kind of thing. I don't know, it seems...
After watching her video, I was just like, oh yeah, this is exactly what I was dealing with when playing Skyrim, but like 10 to 100 times less.
Mm-hmm.
Because she's obviously been doing it a lot longer now. I stopped with Skyrim content and stuff, and I did that like early on in my channel. And even when it's like just 100 odd people telling you how to play the game and why you should do it their way and not your way and stuff, and at the time as well I was replying to every comment, like it sounds like Charlie Curry tries to do, which I've given up on recently, because it's not worth it half the time, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But, yeah, even that was taking its toll on me, and I'm a young man. Don't have to worry about high blood pressure.
A strapping young lad.
Yeah. Shirley's getting on a bit. It's kind of half her online persona, I suppose. I don't know what I should quite call it, but yeah, she deserves to be able to just chill out and enjoy her video games. But the way of the internet and the way of people is just that sometimes they don't really understand.
No.
I think, just in general, whenever you're gonna talk to someone, I was gonna say leave a comment, but just to talk to someone or interact with them in any way, and yes, leaving a comment is interacting with people. Or you see quite a bit on YouTube, people who leave comments, and then if you reply to them or acknowledge them in any way, seem quite surprised, because oftentimes it seems people think they're just shouting at a wall. But if you're gonna interact with someone, just, before you do it, flip it over, think what it would be like if they were saying the exact same thing to you, and the situations were just reversed, and if you're like, oh, I don't want that said to me, or oh, I don't want people questioning how I play, or doing this or doing that, just don't do it yourself then. It's always worth giving it a check, because we all will mess up from time to time. I messed up just the other day, but as long as you're taking time to think before you speak, or think before you comment, it just makes life that little bit nicer.
Yeah.
Talking about making things a little bit nicer.
Oh, trying to make things better. Oh yeah, this bullcrap that I linked. Here's my hot take. So there was a Reddit post 11, it would be 12 days ago now, at the time of this podcast going up, that somebody requested that Bethesda let modders officially fix your game. That's the title of the post. And they're primarily talking about Fallout 76. This is in the Fallout 76 subreddit. They are using the unofficial Fallout 4 patch as an example, or other unofficial Fallout patches as examples of modders doing the work for Bethesda in fixing their games. And I'm kind of against the idea of modders being given that kind of contract work. Or I don't know what you want to call it, but like Creation Club went over poorly and modders were brought into that. Yep. So like I can see this going poorly.
The reason why Creation Club went badly is because players had to pay for things, and the players having to pay, that's how dare you make us pay for stuff? We should get things for free.
So the argument here is that Bethesda should pay, and players shouldn't pay anything. For modders to fix their game. And I don't know if that, it just moves the responsibility over to the modders, which in my mind is a very wrong thing to do. And I know for a fact that there's mod authors that take it upon themselves, or make it their own problem to fix Bethesda's game, which is the completely wrong mindset. It's supposed to be these are supposed to be fun fan-made projects that obviously aren't going to be official in any capacity, but increases the lifespan of Bethesda's games. I don't see how it would actually work.
I think I agree with you. I've also got a couple of things to add. First up is kind of a general, I've never really liked the, modders fix the game mentality. Because I find it's not actually true. It's often a case of, the unofficial patches are probably the best example of lots of small bugs being fixed. But often with them as well, things that aren't supposed to be in their own stuff still do get added. So it's not as simple as just like, we've just fixed the bugs. It always tends to be, we've fixed the bugs, and added in a few random things, maybe broken something else, because coding is a nightmare, and you never understand why stuff is breaking.
Yeah, and on top of that, all coders and all developers have their own, I think I talked about this, we talked about this, before we even considered recording this. Programmers have their own patterns that they use to, keep things organized and whatnot. And, I've heard and also seen, that a lot of stuff is already a mess. And there's some rhyme to the reason for, what's going on inside the creation engine. But bringing mod authors into the mix and having their own ways of doing things, it's like taking two separate people and they have different filing systems. I don't even want to think about that.
Yeah.
So it could come down to trying to find an issue and not being able to find it because they don't know where it is or don't know where it would be if there was a problem related to a specific thing that the modder did. Yeah. That's an extreme example, of course, but I can't really see it going well in any capacity.
I mean, my biggest fear with this as well would be that they make it a bit too open, and then malicious people, which there are plenty of in the game, unfortunately, and plenty who do want to screw over other people just for the sake of it, then end up going into this just hey, I've fixed this bug and totally haven't installed this sneaky little backdoor entrance to get into the game and screw everything up. To me, that's the biggest worry and also the biggest reason why that wouldn't really probably happen. Because it is way too much of a security risk. Especially if people have credit cards or stuff linked in any way with the code for buying items or things like that. There's a reason you want employees working on your games rather than random Mr. Anonymous 574 who could be anywhere in the world you know nothing about and has no credentials to back themselves up, but is hey, I can fix this for you.
Yeah. And the fact that it comes down to the money will always be a question also in that kind of thing. They would be doing work for Bethesda. They would have to be paid.
Yeah, I mean, the Reddit post says an atom bounty, so atoms are the in-game currency, and they also mention maybe special cosmetics and stuff.
Yeah, I don't see that going over well though.
Yeah, that would almost certainly mess up a lot of
the Mars would just probably throw it back in their face and be no, we're unionizing or something. I don't know.
Yeah. The big problem is that if you're doing significant work, you deserve to get properly paid for it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Especially if it's on a platform where they're hey, we want you to do this work. Doing work unprompted, fair enough, you're probably not going to get paid for that.
Yeah,
but
passion project. Those happen all the time.
But it'll also be the case of, if they do start getting paid, well then Bethesda should really just hire some more people to work on it.
That's right.
Because I've one of the things I've wanted for a long time is just to get a full, proper look inside of Bethesda. And there has been a no-clip documentary, which was very nice to see. But I want to really see everything. And right now, I just want to know how many people are working on 76. Because we know it's not everyone, obviously. No. And we all seem to think it's a newer team for the most part, and probably a relatively small team overall. But that's just more than anything guesses by the community. Because there's only maybe half a dozen people who have publicly been out for as, like, someone who is officially working on the game. Maybe that's the only people working on the game. Maybe there's only, like, 10 people working on it. We don't know.
Yeah, it could be.
If they are going to get extra people to work on the game, I do feel it would be better to have more employees than faceless modders doing it. But I know there'll be a lot of people right now who are disagreeing with us because of the whole modders have to fix the game thing, which I've already stated my opinion about.
Yeah, we don't think it should be the mod author's responsibility no matter what, even if they make it their own. We didn't even talk about, like, the difference between modding a single-player game and modding an online game, because then you have client-side and server-side issues. And how Sarge said, there could be other ways to sneak in that are exposed by modders. If this were hypothetical, it's something that happened.
I mean, personally, I'm gonna say it. I don't like the fact that Fallout 76 allows mods at all, because I think that shouldn't be a thing.
Oh no, I don't either.
I feel that does just show an added weakness to the game's security. And I have wondered quite a bit how much the allowing of mods also allows people to, like, hack and use exploits and really mess things up. Because if they're letting people mod the game, then they're not doing much to really secure the game, which makes sense from a hacking standpoint. And it's not something they've had to worry about in single-player games, because nobody really cares that much if you cheat in single-player games. I don't care if you cheat in single-player games. You cheat in a multiplayer game, though, I get annoyed. I will say, Bethesda have been doing one big thing to try and fix the game and use players to do it, and that has been the private test server, which is now changed to a public test server. So if you are a PC player who plays Fallout 76 on the Bethesda launcher, you are now able to use the public test server, and the reason it's called now public test server rather than private test server is there's no longer an NDA, a non-disclosure agreement. Well, I say there's no longer an NDA. The NDA does still actually pop up at the start, which really bugged me a bit. Yeah. But you're no longer bound by the NDA, so you can talk about it out in the open. You can talk about all the stuff. Should mention here, we're not going to be talking about the spoilery stuff, are we, Caedo?
No.
But you're now allowed to talk about it. They have asked that if you do, to clearly, like, spoiler tag your stuff. I mean, I'm planning on hopefully having a video up later in the week talking about the changes that are coming with patch 20 that I've learned through the public test server. But even then, I'm going to be, like, super spoilering it. I'm going to have, like, a spoiler warning at the start. Going to clearly put in the title that it's a spoiler, and in the thumbnail, and also reveal nothing in the title and thumbnail or description. Just because you don't want people just scrolling through YouTube and being like, oh, well, there's all the spoilers. Because I see that way too often. That's something that always bugs me.
Yes, I agree.
Without going into any actual spoilers, though, Caedo, have you been on the PTS at all?
No, I have chosen to leave it a surprise.
That's a good way to go for. I will say I have been on it myself. I've only been on it briefly, and something that isn't a spoiler, but which you can get told about, perfectly open, just in the actual news articles, is at some point soon, possibly right now actually, there should be, when you load into the PTS, a fresh level 250 character that you can load into, which I think will be quite good for lots of people who picked up the game during Wastelanders and likely don't have a high level character, because then they can experience a high level character and do some of the higher level stuff in the PTS with a fresh character. The time I loaded in though, there unfortunately was not the 250 raised character, so I have kind of had to just wait for that. But once that pops up, I'll be jumping in fully and seeing how everything goes. And also, final little thing on the subject, if you are in the PTS, do report bugs and feedback in the forums, because that is the most important thing, because that's kind of why it's here, to make sure everything launches smoothly. It's what they did with Wastelanders and what they're planning on doing with every major content update that's upcoming, which is good.
It is. And bear in mind that, private test server doesn't mean that your character progress is going to carry over or whatever. That's not.
It does not.
That's not the point of these things. Just as a heads up, in case you're not aware, and you're like, oh my goodness, level 250 character that I can just play around with. Yeah, but you're there to test. That's why it's called a test server.
Yeah. And in the PTS, the level 250 character will probably just stay in the PTS. I made a new character within that, and then checked on the main game, and I was not able to boot up the new character within the main game, because they are separate to one another.
That's something to keep in mind. And also, use proper channels to report bugs and stuff like that, because it did prove to be extremely helpful with Wastelanders and having it release in a much smoother state than it could have.
Yeah, I do feel 76 is slightly more positively viewed after Wastelanders now.
Oh yeah,
and seeing as things are
by far
getting more stable.
Let me see what Steam says. Hold on.
Oh god, that's still going to be very bad. Like, I think either before or as soon as Wastelanders released, the game got review bombed in Steam. Like, before anyone would have even had the chance to get into the main menu.
Well, yeah, but that was Fallout 4. Like, when Wastelanders came out is when the Steam release of 76 came out, too.
Yeah, I heard that it got review bombed as well. I could be wrong on that, but...
I mean, it got review bombed positively.
What?
From the looks of it. Yeah, it was very positive when it came out. From what I saw. And it's still mostly positive in all reviews, so...
Jeez. Okay, I'm guessing what I heard then was much more of a, we're gonna review bomb it! And 20 people went and review bombed it. and
another 5,000 were just like, this is fun!
Yeah. I do actually have a
Yeah.
fellow YouTuber that I happened to just not come across, was told about the other day, called Zane's World, and Zane's Arcade, this is a channel where we play 76, got into the game, I think again with Wastelanders after not enjoying it the first time, and he's been playing through like almost level 50 now, having tons of fun, and it's really nice to see someone just jump into the game, enjoy themselves, and just all be good.
Yep. And I would like if anybody in the comments can convince Kite to jump back into the game. I know Kite's going to listen to this too. Kite, just play 76. There's a Deathclaw head.
I'm still trying to get that. That's like the one rare mask I haven't got yet. It's so irritating. Once I've got that,
mask.
But I've got the Raven mask.
Yeah.
I've got the Raven mask 3 times now on different characters. Like, once I've got the Deathclaw mask, I have achieved every single reward or unique reward I can from Fustnut, and that'll be real good.
Then you put them all display cases and be like, ha!
Yep.
Check out.
Or if I ever need to make 30,000 caps straight away.
Yeah. Do you think they would sell for max caps?
I mean, they're gonna sell high. The economy in the game is all a bit weird, which is something I'm actually going to try and make a video on. Yeah, I've just checked the Steam page as well. 6,157 reviews, mostly positive. Recent reviews, 2,446, very positive. 80% of the reviews are positive in recent and 79% in that. So yeah, around 80% of people enjoying the game and stuff. That's good.
Yeah.
Especially seeing as, well, I'm guessing there's people on both sides now. Yeah, but there's a fair few just negative blah kind of things. Which is just, yeah, there's literally like single comments and then short lines with, which I literally cannot repeat on the PIPCAST kind of reviews. But then there's the people giving positive reviews are kind of like, it's got its flaws and stuff, but overall enjoyable. Seems to be the main thing of them.
Yeah.
And yeah. So, actually, this review by Radwagon might be my favourite review. It has its flaws, mostly technical, like FPS drops and stuttering, random issues with hitboxes, etc. But overall, it's enjoyable if you're a fan of the Fallout series. Worth getting on sale if you're tired of playing Fallout 4. That, I think, is the best review I've read in years.
Thank you, Radwagon.
I like that as a review.
You are the raddest wagon and level-headed in your comment.
Man, I love level-headed people. They're great. You can talk to them without shouting. That's
Oh, I thought you were just gonna say you can talk to them.
No.
Well, it's something that people are also hopefully talking about. There's not much to see yet.
Nope.
But there's a Godfall teaser trailer. It's not gameplay.
Nope.
Not gameplay. Gameplay was not used in its title. But it's showing off Silvermane, one of the, I'm assuming, character classes of Godfall, which is going to be Gearbox's next looter slasher type game.
Yep.
And we have it linked down below. It's only about 30 seconds long,
Yeah.
but it's pretty. They're hyping us up for something. There's going to be most likely follow-ups of the other character classes until they have their big, check it out kind of thing. Maybe it was leading up to what E3 was going to be or something.
Yeah. I mean, they do have godfall.com, which you can go to for tons of information, and by tons of information, I mean a few pretty visuals, the reveal trailer, and 3 diamonds, one of which says Looter Slasher, chase legendary weapons and armor, and has like some shiny swords and spears. Another one, High Impact Combat, master third-person melee action, where you can see your character who's a sword person fighting a big guy with a hammer. And the final one, Better Together, enjoy 1, 2, or 3 player co-op, and it shows what I'm guessing are the 3 classes, but
yeah,
it's in a tiny triangle. Like, I have a big monitor, and I can't tell what's really going on in these. There's not much information.
It's just a lot of shinies.
Yeah. It looks pretty from, like, the minute we've seen in total.
Yeah. Like, visually, though, it looks like a Warframe competitor, if it really kicks off.
Yeah. I will point out the reveal trailer is almost 2 minutes, and much better watching.
Yeah. It shows the all 3 of the characters in it.
Yeah. And has, like, explosions and stuff.
Yeah.
Although, when I was watching the very first bit for a reveal trailer, which I've got watching now, it kind of reminds me of the small, tiny bits I've seen of a game that's getting remastered.
What kind of remaster are we talking about, Sarge? It couldn't be that one game that we thought was dead.
What? No, we didn't think it was dead.
I'm hyping it up.
Beautiful. Brilliant. Amazing. 10 out of 10. Best game ever. Why haven't you played it yet? Yes, so Kingdoms of Amalur Reckoning is getting a remaster. It's now going to be called Kingdoms of Amalur Re-Reckoning, or KOAR for short.
Koariri.
I wonder if you do R-E-R-E. Or if
Re-Rec.
Sometimes you ignore, like, the small... I've forgotten what the name of the words is, but the small words, in which case it would just be car.
Yeah.
Like that. But yeah, there was, it's been confirmed on the @Reckoning Game Twitter. The rumours are true. Prepare for a re-reckoning, because Kingdoms of Amalur is coming back. Remastered with stunning visuals and refined gameplay, it's soon time to experience an epic RPG journey, and all its DLCs, like never before.
Yes.
And
I really hope that more people are going to play it now that more people know about it, and it's not overshadowed by Skyrim.
yes, that was a huge problem when it came out, because I'm gonna have to double check the release dates. I'm pretty certain we have talked about this before on the PIPCAST. But let's check. I'm trying to search for it, and now everything's like Kingdoms of Amalur 2? Okay, so yeah, Skyrim released on the 11th of November 2011. Kingdoms of Amalur Reckoning released on the 7th of February 2012. So it came very soon after Skyrim, really.
2 months after.
Well, yeah. Closer to 3 months.
2.5.
Fine. But yeah, on top of it as well, I've just taken a look at the reviews, because I had to search for release dates. And it's Elder Scrolls V Skyrim, 9 out of 10 Steam, 96% liked this game, 4.8. Kingdoms of Amalur Reckoning, 9 out of 10 Steam, 96% liked this game, but 4.9 audience rating. Boom! 0.1 higher than Skyrim. It is genuinely amazing game. I believe, Caedo, you did a full live stream playthrough, if I'm remembering correctly.
I did. I think I did the Teeth of Naros too. I can't remember if I did the Legend of Dead Kel as well on stream.
And on my channel, I did a permadeath playthrough, because I like my challenge runs.
Yeah, extreme.
And actually, I'm going to check on Steam when the last time I played, because I was doing a crafting-only run in my free time. And when did I last play? It was... Oh man, dude. I have not played Kingdoms of Amalur Reckoning since March.
Let me double check. March of last year? Or this year?
This year, obviously. Come on, man.
Wow. I'm afraid to look at mine.
Better have played it yesterday, Caedo.
October 2018.
What? That is...
Yeah.
God, that's so long ago.
Yeah.
It's an amazing game. Like,
Yep.
It's a fantasy RPG. It has some of the best combat. Like, it is a third-person game. I hate third-person. But there are two games which are so good that I don't care about third-person. And that's Kingdoms of Amalur Reckoning, obviously, and Middle-earth Shadow of War. Those two games, I'm like, no, they've got cool enough systems within them that I don't mind it being third-person. I'm cool with that. I will say as well, because we've totally forgotten, this is supposed to release on August 18th, so there's not long left before it comes out.
Yeah, in a couple months. And around the same time, Wasteland 3 is going to be coming out too.
Ooh. Oh, I've had to double check as well, and yeah, Cyberpunk 2077 comes out in September 17th.
Oh man.
Yep. So I
hope this is not a repeat.
I got 1 month to play Kingdoms of Amalur, and then Cyberpunk comes out. I'm glad it's coming out before Cyberpunk.
Yeah. If it was after, it would have been screwed all over again.
Yeah. Because genuinely, the game is really good. Like, there's a reason I played the original just a couple of months ago, because it really is so good. And here's the thing as well. I personally don't think it needs like a visual remastering or anything, because it's got a very kind of fantasy, not comic book aesthetic, but it's not trying to look real. It's trying to look like a proper fantasy game.
Yeah.
And visually it holds up very well. So you should totally go watch both of our series of us playing it, because it looks good. But
I'd say watch Sarge's, because I was probably using a garbage encoder when I streamed mine.
To be fair, I don't know how long ago mine was, so it might only be 720p if I was using the old editor.
It'd probably be better than mine, Sarge.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Plus you get my amazing commentary from probably a couple of years ago, and you can see how far I've come with just being able to talk.
There you go. Yeah. Watch Sarge learn how to talk.
Yeah. But I will say there'll be a Polygon article linked down below, which has screenshots from the remaster, or images from the remaster, probably promotional images.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks quite similar.
Yeah.
They've kept the same art style and stuff. It does look just a bit sharper, a bit neater, a little bit prettier.
Yeah. So, what are your predictions for refined gameplay and what it means? Like one or two things.
I'm kind of worried about that, to be fair, because the combat in Amalur is badass.
Yeah.
Like, it's... For
Agreed.
people who have played it, they'll be 100% on board with us all the way. For people who haven't played it, they will not understand. Because you're probably going to be comparing it to Skyrim, where you've got a sword and you whack it like a stick. No, in Amalur, you have like dual Fey blades, where you power up for attack by holding it, then you like sprint towards your enemy, spin the blades at them, juggle them up, throw mines down on the floor, have the enemies explode on that, then you can switch to magic seamlessly whilst using combat and stuff, and have your bow out and just use your bow and switch to... Combat in Amalur flows so amazingly well that it did not need to have a story or characters. I would have played it just for this is fun combat.
Yeah, so for those who don't know, think of more like, other hack and slash games for one, because that's the dominant aspect of Kingdoms of Amalur, but also Kingdom Hearts it reminds me of, like, Kingdom Hearts 2 onwards, basically, reminds me of the combat style that Amalur was kind of doing as well. Very flashy combat, very satisfying finishers, switching things on the fly, a lot more so in Amalur than you could in Kingdom Hearts, in fact. Because Kingdom Hearts still had a command menu. This one's just action all the time. But that's the closest comparison I can make. I can't. Nothing else really comes to mind.
I will say something it does as well, which is brilliant, is you can respec your characters at Fate Weavers, who are these other important characters within the game, and you can just go back and respec yourself. And there's like 3 trees. There's I'm gonna get the names wrong. It's like basically stealth, might, and magic. That's not what they're called. I can't remember the exact names.
Finesse, sorcery, and might.
Finesse, sorcery, and might.
How do I remember and you not? And I haven't played it for 2 years.
I just had like 20 different synonyms for each of them in my brain, and I was like, God, which one is it? But yeah, so finesse, might, and magic. Finesse is all stealthy stuff. Like there's some bow things in there, lots of dagger sneak attacks. Like you can. Oh my God, something as well is it's. You know how Skyrim has the thing where you, like, go up and slash the enemy? No. Amalur has it where you, like, tear them completely asunder with your knives when you get a sneak attack. You get, like, a proper, full-blown animation cinematic thing with it.
Well, the exaggerated weapons kind of lend to that a little bit.
Oh, yeah. You'll be walking around with, like, a giant flaming greatsword half the time. But, yeah, with finesse you got all of that. With might, you've got, like, you might equip yourself to be like really tough and use a giant hammer, and the hammers are like really slow. When you like hit the ground with them, enemies just topple. Or you might go for magic, where maybe you want to go for the full mage, which is something I haven't actually done before. Where you can like blast spells, and then you got staves, which can like burn the environment and do cool things.
Mages are super fun.
They are. But best of all, you can like mix and match between them all. So you can be like a proper warrior mage, and there's destinies that go along with that, where it's like, oh, okay, you're a warrior mage, so you can teleport. That's just a thing we're going to throw in. You don't need to dodge out the way, you just teleport around enemies. And you can respec it. Oh, it's so good.
Yeah, they didn't shortchange the player on, like, making those choices, too. Like, they have a class for every build you want to make.
Yeah.
or destiny, as they call it. Like, you could be a universalist build, which I think it has some sort of bonus to like all the skills you choose to get, or gives you cost reductions for certain things. I can't remember how exactly it works, but it even has for a universalist build. You can't go down every single tree, obviously, if you're trying to be jack of all trades, but you do get, benefits if you're going that route. And I think that's really cool.
At this point, you may be able to tell we're basically just trying to sell you on the game because it's that good.
Yeah, and like you should play it before you play it.
Yeah,
is also what we're saying.
I'm thinking of other stuff I want to point out. Oh man, there's certain like missions and quests and stuff will give you like unique perks and bonuses, which is something I love in games.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Especially a lot of the story stuff and like the DLC as well. That's something which I know a lot of people like from some of the previous Fallout games. And man, I'm just trying to think of all the important things. There's some cool characters, there's a bunch of factions. It's a beautiful world. Like, I remember when I played it, the one complaint I remember someone having against it is there's not a jump button.
Yeah, there's no jump.
Because you can jump off of ledges at preordained points, but spacebar is like dodge.
Yeah.
And that takes a tiny bit of getting used to, but the game is built in such a way that obviously they're not expecting you to jump over things.
Would it be hilarious if that was one of the things they added?
The improved gameplay. Hey, you can now jump. There's nothing to jump over, but you can do a tiny little jump for no reason.
It's just invisible walls that you could maybe get up on, but you still can't.
Yeah. The game made me realise how rarely video games actually make it so jumping is at all important or well implemented. Like, there are games that do it well. 76, Titanfall. Can't think of a third example off the top of my head. There's like a few games... Dying Light, there you go. There's like a few games which really kind of think about jumping, but for so many games it's kind of like an afterthought of, okay, the player's going to expect to be able to jump like half a foot in the air. Is it going to do anything helpful? No, but we need to include it just so they can hit spacebar and jump.
So they have something to do.
Yep.
when they're wasting time.
Yeah, man.
I hope that whatever they do to hopefully improve the game, they don't really touch combat. What I would rather is better camera control and like the placement of the camera, because in the vanilla game the camera is low in comparison to other third person games that I have played. Your character is dead center. Usually it's closer to the torso or like over the shoulder, but in this game it's just your character in the center of the screen, unless you're in combat, in which case it kind of, widens out and lets you see, the enemies that you're fighting and stuff like that. But beyond that, like, I didn't really have any ideas for like what improvements they could make. Maybe
I've got a couple.
Maybe the gear, making it a little less random for the rare or set type stuff, because otherwise, I mean, in the game how it is now, if you wanted to get a item set, you would have to just farm stuff in that level bracket and look and find chests and loot in that level bracket.
I thought that was all pre-placed.
Only a couple of them are.
Oh, okay.
Like the faction ones and the universalist gear is in a guaranteed spot, but like a lot of the other set gear is just randomized.
Okay, I will say they did fairly well with the randomization then, because I was able to get like a few unique sets when just doing a playthrough.
That's good.
Yeah, it wasn't. I've got so used to 76 RNG now, which is awful. That in comparison, just like, oh, you have to farm for a few hours is like, oh my god, that's so easy.
Yeah. Whereas the alternative is,
hey, you got a 0.00001% chance of getting the item you want.
yay!
You'll be fine. No.
It's improved a little bit now that we can craft it.
I
As I crafted 6 yesterday and got nothing that I wanted.
Yep. One thing I want to see in Kingdoms of Amalur, which I honestly doubt they're adding, especially judging by how the screenshots look, is photo mode. Because I love photo mode. I want Kingdoms of Amalur wallpapers that I can make myself.
I would like that too, actually.
It's a really beautiful world.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to be the case though, because like we have 6 images we can look at, and all of them show like the player character either in combat or just standing around. On your point of the camera, if these images are like from the game proper and just like during gameplay and stuff or whatever, then it does look like the camera could be a bit closer, or maybe there's more camera control. But I'd love photo mode. Yeah. We're both picking up again.
Yeah. One more. Just one more.
Yep.
I don't think it's possible, but I would want co-op really bad. Co-op would be amazing.
I think that's less likely than photo mode.
Way less likely than photo mode.
Seeing as the property was purchased by THQ Nordic in 2018, they've not exactly had a ton of time to potentially be working on the remaster.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if they worked on it since then, and they had like almost 2 years, sure, they could have implemented a lot of new stuff. But it's much more likely that it was acquired, then they got people who could actually work on it, and like some of the old team back, some new people, and all of that stuff. Then they maybe had like a year to remaster it or something like that. I feel like that's probably going to be the case.
Whatever happens, I'm probably going to pay for it again because I love it.
Oh yeah. So. I am 100% buying it again. I'm even tempted by the special edition.
Yeah.
But it
Alien
is
Shear
expensive.
Statue, my video game crush. We talked about that in my Discord. I just want to plug my Discord really quick, where we talk about our video game crushes.
And if you're wondering about my video game crush, just name any character and you're probably there.
Okay, that's we talked about Amalur for a while, so why don't we move on to the topic about Fallout, where this PIPCAST came into existence. Podcast came into whatever.
Yep.
Okay, what would a Fallout remastered look like to you? I ask you in the comments as well.
Yep.
You could leave any length of comment you want. If you leave a multi-page novel in the comments, hey, we can make that a comment of the cast. That would be fun.
Wait, whoa.
Just read the whole thing.
Yeah, we won't do the podcast next time. We'll literally just read an excessively long comment.
Yeah.
No. If you do have like a lot to say, we are interested to read through it all.
Yeah.
But no guarantees on that being comment of the cast.
Do you want to start on it, Sarge?
Yeah, so obviously this came about because Kingdoms of Amalur is being remastered, and I figured, like, in my mind it was very much Fallout 1, Fallout 2, because I grouped them, and I think they could potentially be grouped into one package, like both be remastered at the same time, because they're actually quite small games, all things considered, especially in the modern age of big open world games. And instead of like a visual upscaling remaster kind of thing, I would like to see them basically made in the modern Fallout. 3D, shooting and stuff, all incorporated. I'd personally like them to get rid of the old system and let new players who find that old way kind of unapproachable experience the story, the characters, and where the franchise all started in a 3D world with modern controls and modern visuals that they're used to.
Whoa. Do you think it's realistic? Do you think that would actually happen? Or do you think
I don't think it's particularly realistic. But at the same time, I feel like just a visual kind of overhaul of the original Fallout would be somewhat null and void. I don't think that's the big thing that puts most players off of playing the old Fallout games. It's the fact that controlling it is very alien to most people. Mm-hmm. Like, obviously, you, Caedo, you are more familiar with the older games and don't have so much of trouble kind of jumping in and playing them because you're somewhat acclimatized to the controls and stuff.
Because I'm old? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, because Caedo is ancient. I, on the other hand, am young, beautiful, strong, badass. And that means I can't play the old Fallouts. Too young. No, I've gone back and I've tried to play them a few times, and I kind of get to it, but it all feels like I'm just having to kind of fight to play the game. Mm-hmm. And it becomes frustrating, and it's not half as enjoyable as just watching someone else play, which is why I've watched way more like Let's Plays and stuff of Fallout and Fallout 2 than I have actually spent time playing the games. Because it's just difficult to do if you're not used to those games. And we had a game recently that came out, which was a remaster of an old game, which plenty of people have trouble playing nowadays, which is Final Fantasy VII.
Yep.
Yeah. And that, even though I prefer the old combat system from the older Final Fantasy games, I totally get that going for an updated combat system and updated menus and stuff to more action-focused and appeal more to the modern audience is the smarter choice. And I think doing the same for the original Fallout would make the most sense.
Yeah. That's, I mean, despite me, like, really enjoying isometric turn-based stuff, things have to be improved over time. That's just how things work. in gaming and everything else, pretty much. Yeah. So, and there's been changes for turn-based. Like we played a turn-based game together, and we'll talk about that in a little while. That is vastly improved from the early days of that same game or same series, and even the developer of that series kind of gave a new life to another franchise that I love and gave it a modern take, and it is one of the best successor games I have probably ever played, I want to say, and that's the new XCOM and XCOM 2 games, because it took pretty much everything and improved upon it while simultaneously taking the things that were less fun to manage and reducing them by quite a bit, and or simplifying them in a way. So like the meaty combat was maintained, the strategy was there, and like Some of the base management stuff was reduced a little bit, made a lot more easier to understand. You wouldn't have to sit there and look at your bills for every single month on like what countries don't support you anymore or whatever. Like, you didn't have to look at that anymore. You were just like, okay, this country's upset. Thank you for the alert. So if anything happens over there, I'm gonna go there and help. Like, just, it's so good in comparison. And yeah, I respect that yeah, things need to be improved to be appreciated still, or even, you know, in the case of remasters, like maybe that's one of the that is one of the tools that developers use. And also, you know, cashing in on a valuable franchise.
Yeah.
There's that part too.
I will say, from like a Bethesda PR standpoint, remaking the original Fallouts, keeping very true to the source material, and even if they can get like some of the same voice actors and stuff in for the few parts that were voice acted, and just like keeping things looking similar, not visually, but design-wise, if they could do that and make it into the 3D modern Fallout, they'd be way up in people's expectations and opinions again.
Yeah.
So it'd be a big PR move, if nothing else.
I bet. Maybe that's their emergency plan.
Yeah. Fallout fails, remaster original Fallout.
Or like
Todd
remaster.
Howard's got a big red button on his desk which says remaster. Just smacks it every time something goes bad.
It would be like a combo, like they would adapt the creation engine to recreate Arena and the original Fallout games. Yeah, and Morrowind, of course, Morrowind.
I actually asked for a Morrowind remaster not that long ago.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because I feel in the Elder Scrolls, Morrowind and before is the point where the games become hard to play.
Yeah. Like I still have a hard time approaching Morrowind. I played it for a tiny bit, but I knew that it was going to be a huge time investment, and also like all the reading. I play heavy reading RPGs, but I know that they take a lot of time. Also, if I don't have prior experience, I guess I'm fortunate in the sense of the classic Fallout games because I played them when I had nothing else going on in my life besides school, which obviously wasn't important. I'm just kidding. Go to school. No. Get your learnings.
I mean, don't go to school right now. Stay at home.
Stay at home and do your classes.
Yeah. I was going to say, back to it all. If it is coming to like 3D and more of a modern Fallout experience, I see one huge major problem, which is emptiness.
Yeah, I always thought like if they went that route, they would do a hub or a hub world type thing, or open areas, kind of like the Outer Worlds kind of did. See, it's doable, I think.
Yeah.
Maybe take a little more liberties, like with Fallout 2, making the highwaymen a little bit more easily available. So that would be your mode of transportation to different areas. They could just have the same exact map layout and make the random encounter setups in 3D spaces.
Yeah, see, that's what I was imagining, like a full open world with random encounters and stuff. But then when you actually think about the the original Fallout, the reason why places felt far apart is because you just go across the screen, and 99% of the time you're desperately hoping not to get an encounter, because encounter equals death for a long time in original Fallout. So the fact that nothing happens becomes a relief. In a modern Fallout game, you don't want to just walk and have nothing happen across an open sandy desert, which, if it was just like 1-to-1 basically, would be 90% of the game. But if they just brought in all the locations closer together, then suddenly the world would feel really small, because you'd just be going from one place to the other and be able to see them all from one another, and you'd be like, how do people not just travel between everywhere all the time?
Yeah.
So I think they'd really need to add in a lot more locations if they were to make it in the same way as Fallout 3 or Fallout 4 or New Vegas. which
Oh yeah.
Bethesda didn't do, but
If it were going the open world way, yeah, for sure. That's why I was thinking more enclosed.
Yeah, I think kind of
cells.
the Outer Worlds Borderlands-y kind of style, where you just load between places, is a way to kind of bypass all of that, and would probably be easier. But man, I've never really enjoyed that so much. Like, the one game or game series I think that does it fairly well would be Dark Souls, because that you've actually got hub areas, but they're all connected, and like the loading between them tends to be like a big door or like some smoke you go through, and you don't really think about the fact that you're loading into a new zone, because you can see them all off in the distance anyway. You just kind of think, oh, this is just part of the world, I just had to do an animation, because there's a door in my way, because of course I have to do that. That is a way they do it really well, and would not work in a Fallout remaster like that, unfortunately. I mean, the closest way they could get it to work would be with, like, the Highwayman.
Yeah.
But even then, I'd be like, oh, I'm going for another minute-long journey in my car across desert, and now I'm somewhere else. I think the hub world and the split areas is a worse way to approach a game, in my opinion, but would be a lot easier for a Fallout remaster.
Okay. Well, I took the boring route because I wanted to go with something that was more realistic, and that was going to be Fallout 3. Because I don't see it happening with Fallout New Vegas. There's too much complicated ties between Bethesda and Obsidian with that particular project. So
I mean, I disagree with the ties being so much between Bethesda and Obsidian, and more with being Fallout fans and liking to get angry over the whole Bethesda Obsidian thing.
Oh, that could be that too.
Because there's been plenty of times where I've actually seen like New Vegas stuff somewhat referenced or acknowledged by Bethesda, but every time it happens, I'll see people in Fallout being like, oh my god, Bethesda actually acknowledged this, they never do this. And it's not actually the case so much as it's something they didn't work on, so
yeah,
they can't really just start randomly talking about it.
Yeah,
as if
I mean,
they
that's the fact that Bethesda Studios didn't work on it is probably another reason why they wouldn't really do a remaster without needing Obsidian's help to do so, because Obsidian made New Vegas.
Yeah.
So like I said, I went the Fallout 3 route because there's something so iconic for how Bethesda managed to revive the Fallout franchise and get new fans at the exact same time when Fallout 3 was released. The effect that it has on you recreating a bunch of moments in their own way on the East Coast that are very similar to the moments that happen in Fallout 1 and Fallout 2, and including a lot of the, factions and driving forces that made those games interesting, all in a nice little package. And then adding to that the first person or third person, depending on how you chose to play, shooting mechanics, and somehow implementing the turn-based system or changing it into the VAT system, which I feel like they probably spent a long time deciding like how to do that or how to make that familiar. The sound effects, for one, were perfect. Like the combat start and end sounds are that sounds. Like that hasn't changed since the classic games. But I could see the Fallout 3 after Fallout 4 came out. It was just, there was so many improvements made. It's that much harder now for people to go back to Fallout 3, I believe. So if there was some way, I mean, now we're talking about retroactive though, which would probably be heck. I would hope that there would be some way to implement the brand new shooting mechanics and the looting mechanics, and like maybe even the perk system, but like that might be a bit of a stretch, because the character building is not built on that. in Fallout 3. But I would like to see a remaster of 3, I think.
Yeah. That's in fact another game I actually made. I made a video called like 5 games I want remastered in the 2020s.
Yeah.
And Fallout 3 was in them.
And all the DLC contained, you would have the full story of Broken Steel without having it be a separate piece.
Yeah.
And I think that would be really cool. Besides, implementing things that were in Fallout 4, maybe, I don't know. Maybe implementing some sort of, I can't believe I'm saying this, but maybe a Radiant quest system, or being more involved with, and not accidentally killing off the caravans in Fallout 3.
See, that's something I really like about Fallout 3, is it's much more liberal with you being able to kill stuff, which is something Bethesda then moved away from in future games.
I shouldn't say the player accidentally, because it was the world that would accidentally kill the caravans. And you would like try to find them, and especially if they had like a schematic, because they ended up having rare things on them. If you didn't get the schematic and one of them ended up dying that you needed the schematic off of, you wouldn't be able to ever get it in that playthrough.
I also liked that personally.
Oh, you like that part?
Yes.
Oh.
Because it comes to the whole overall, like, random encounters and stuff in Fallout 3 were really kind of cool, because so much could happen without your intervention, but it made it feel much more like you live in an actual world, rather than there's people waiting around for Mr. or Mrs. Protagonist to just show up and do everything.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, losing some unique stuff can be a pain. I'd say a better workaround for that is just any of the like unique stuff that can be lost in random encounters, give it one extra like set location spawn.
Yeah, that would make sense.
That would be like the only workaround I really want for that.
I think there's a couple that do that actually already.
Yeah.
And Bottle Cap Mines is one of them, I think.
Oh yeah. Like, there's a good few things.
Yeah.
I feel like Fallout 3 is a game that doesn't have to be remastered to be played. Like,
No.
I feel like it's one of the... It's probably the earliest Fallout title you can go back to and easily play still. But
It is
a bit
considered
clunky.
retro at this point.
Oh, come on.
It is.
That's... man...
Yep.
Why? It's not that old.
It is, though.
Wait, when? I'm gonna have to check when it released. Oh wait, I've got to actually type in release date.
2006?
Wait, it said 2008 for me. Why does it say 2008?
Oh, I confused the acquisition
Oh, okay.
with the release date.
Yeah, it's 2008. No. See, I consider retro like the 20th century. That's only like 12 years ago. Like less than 12 years ago. No. I disagree with that.
No? Not retro?
Not in my opinion.
It was on a retro console.
What do you mean it was on a retro console?
The PS3,
Was it on the Dreamcast?
The PS3 is considered a retro console.
No, that's not a retro console. PS5 isn't even out yet. You can't be like, oh my god, PS3 is so retro, I'm so unique by playing it.
I didn't say that.
I've got a PlayStation 1 in the I got a PlayStation 1 in the hallway. I don't even consider that like retro yet.
Oh, that's super retro.
No, that's like...
That's so old, Sarge?
No, before the PS1, I'd be like, yeah, okay, that's retro. PS1, I feel like, is going to become retro soon, but isn't quite there yet necessarily.
Listen here. Kite worked at a game store called Retro Game Trader, and PS3s were in the retro section. They were selling PS3 games and consoles and controllers at Retro Game Trader.
That's foolish. I'm afraid they were wrong. Simple as that. Can't have it. Like, a game's gotta be, or it's gotta be at least 20 years minimum, I'd say, before something goes into retro.
Anyway, I would remaster Fallout 3.
Yeah, you would.
Because it's old.
It's not. Man, I played it not even that long ago. Like, I think I played it at the start of this year. I'm gonna check Steam again for this, because when did I last play Fallout 3? It was, January 23rd. the last time I played Fallout 3 was the last time that I was... I've got to check the year now. Last time that I was 23 years old.
Huh.
That's interesting-ish. Not very. Fact for you all.
Let me see mine. February 2018.
Ooh. Okay, so... Oh, okay. This actually surprises me a bit. Last time I played Fallout 2 was March 24th, 2019. And the last time I played Fallout 1, February 15th.
Of this
It turns out... Yeah, it turns out I've actually played Fallout 1 more recently than Fallout 3. Which I feel... I've definitely played Fallout 4. Yeah, Fallout 4 was March 8th. Okay. I was worried... I almost played Fallout 1, the most recent out of any Fallout game other than 76. No. I think overall a Fallout 3 remaster could be fine. I do remember not that long ago, like maybe a year or two ago, there was talk of the Fallout 3 remaster and it kind of got shot down by someone at Bethesda. Can't remember who was like, you can play the game in 4K, it still looks good and stuff. It doesn't really need a remaster. Which I do agree with, and also probably means that there won't be a remaster, because it's been said, we don't need a remaster. But
we want
it could be
one.
cool. Yeah, it'd be a nice thing. I do think it'd be probably the easiest Fallout game to give a remaster to as well. Like, if they literally did just up the visuals, rework like movement and combat, and then do nothing else, that'd be good enough.
Yeah.
Because it's the clunkiness of movement and the clunkiness of combat are the biggest drawbacks, and then a visual polish just makes it look a bit better.
Oh yeah, add some sprint too.
Oh yeah, add sprint in as well. That'd be whole like combat gameplay kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But the speech system works fine. I think perks and leveling and stuff you mentioned briefly about changing it. Don't think that needs to be changed.
Yeah.
Like,
well, I said like I don't think it would work, but yeah, I think the classic skill-based system is fine.
There's a lot of things they could do. Like, they could add in factions, which is something they didn't originally, because there was a lot of stuff they had to do for the game, obviously.
Faction system, you mean?
Yeah, faction system, sorry. Because there are factions within the game, but they don't really have the same kind of bearing that we have got used to in the more recent Fallout games.
Yeah, it was all reliant on karma, or who you chose to shoot.
Yeah. Yep.
Hey Sarah, bam.
I think the Fallout 3 remaster could work. I think my choice of original Fallout / Fallout 2 isn't gonna happen. Like, I think it'd be the cooler thing to happen, and would be better for the Fallout community, because there's tons of new Fallout players. Like, people often underestimate just how many like new players come in with each modern entry to the series.
A lot.
Bethesda gets so much like bad press these days, but before Bethesda, the Fallout franchise was not huge.
Yeah, and keep in mind that the talkers, like ourselves included, are just a portion.
Yeah,
the ones that talk about the game. Like, my sister is a good example. Like, she and I talk about Fallout and the Elder Scrolls and stuff fairly often when we're on the phone, but I don't think she takes part much at all in forums or the subreddits or comment sections of other people's videos. And like that needs to be consideed. Like, there's fans that don't have to announce that they're fans.
Oh, definitely. Back when I worked retail, I'd have people... I was, like, their one point into, like, the community as a whole. And other than, like, talking to me about, like, Skyrim or Fallout 4 or whatever, they wouldn't be online, like, discussing deep Fallout lore or whether or not the Brotherhood ever left Mariposa or whatever. They just play the game because it's fun.
Yep.
And, like... I always like to think that 95% of people playing a game are playing it casually, just for fun. And it's 5% who are in the subreddit, talking about all the stuff, hanging out with the community and doing whatever. The vast majority just want a video game to play.
Yep. That's why I find things that aren't Fallout to play sometimes.
Yeah.
To remind myself that I can still just play games and not make videos on them, even though in the back of my mind I still think about stuff I could make a video on.
Always happens. But what games have you been playing that you haven't been quite so fussed about making videos on?
Oh, well, Alpha Protocol, for one. I talked about it 2 weeks ago in the last PIPCAST. I finally finished it. It's the Obsidian game that's not amazing. It's just a game. And has some issues. But I did play it. If we ever got Chris Avalone on here, I would ask him what happened with Alpha Protocol. If he could give me just a little tidbit of like what was going on when they were working under Sega. just some. Because that was just the most generic action hero espionage spy game I have ever played. Or seen. For that matter. So besides Alpha Protocol and finishing it and saying I finished it, I've been playing a little bit of Civ 6 because that was free on the Epic Game Store a little while ago. Finally got around to actually wanting to play it. Kite and I did a pretty lengthy campaign and finally finished ours a few days ago. And I got to play Red Death, which is one of the game modes with Sarge. I'm sure we can talk about it more because...
I was going to say, why don't you say what it was like from your side, and then I'll come in afterwards with what it was like on my side of things.
Okay, well, the first round with you was rough for you. I know that. So, Red Death is a battle royale mode in a Civ 6 turn-based setting. It sounds stupid. I will say that, but it is actually quite a bit of fun, and it's also a post-apocalyptic setting. It's like a burnt wasteland, and you have the choices between many like wastelander types. You have wanderers, you have mutants, cultists. What was the goth dudes?
Oh, the border lords who are just goths.
Border lords that were just goths. And like pirates was one of them too.
Yep.
You go for a Waterworld kind of situation. But the goal was that you had to protect your civilians, which were essentially your settler unit, but you couldn't place a settlement because obviously you're running from the circle, the storm, that closes in every so many turns. So what you're doing is you're escorting this civilian and discovering things in like city ruins and stuff like that, and also competing against the other computers or other players that are traveling around the map. And as of course the circle gets closer, you start getting closer together, and then you encounter each other, and then you take each other out. And whoever's the last person with the last surviving civilians wins. And that's the nature of Battle Royale. So I have been enjoying it quite a bit. Kite and I played quite a few rounds, and then I found out after dealing with setting up a game, I had it set to players take turns at the same time, and that dramatically changes how it works because it's whoever clicks first is able to initiate combat first, instead of whoever's turn it is gets to initiate combat. So I set it to dynamic the second time Sarge and I played, and it played out a lot better, I think, because there was no scramble to like click as fast as possible like you would like an RTS, because it's not an RTS, it's a turn-based game. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. I do recommend it if you ended up getting Civ 6, and they're not long. Civ 6 campaigns are notoriously long to play, and Red Death takes half an hour to an hour per round, unless you're taking a very long time with your turns. They have a timer for taking your turn too, turn timers, which helps. But yeah, okay, Sarge, your take. What's your take?
So, I'm going to preface it by saying this was my second time playing Civ 6 and my first time playing Red Death. So, the first match against Caedo, I had no idea what I was doing, but I managed to get tons of units, because you go and like find empty settlements and stuff, and then when you click on them and move your thing to them, then you get a new unit. So that was good. I ended up with quite a large army by the end, and killed like a couple of the AI people, which is good. Problem was, I had literally no idea what I was doing. I didn't know how anything actually worked. So when Caedo suddenly showed up, and because... dynamic turns? Is that the right one? Where it's happening at the same time?
Basically, players were set to have turns at the same time the first time we played, though.
Yeah, we were doing stuff at the same time. Which basically meant my camera was going all over the place, because Caedo, when he appeared, was doing stuff. And I had no idea what was going on. I was basically watching the game play out, and did a mad scramble where I just clicked everything all over the screen, and hoped for the best. Did not work, obviously. I ended up as well sending my final few units into the storm, and wasn't sure how to turn them around until they were too deep into the storm to save. So,
oops.
Didn't go so well. Then we tried it, like, turn for turn, and I was able to play a bit slower and kind of get to grips to things. Problem that time was that I uncovered like 6 or 7 cities, only 2 of which gave me new units. Which basically just meant that I had one very experienced scouting unit, who won a total of 2 fights in the entire game, and then about 3 or 4 other units who had done literally nothing. So the second game, I understood what was going on, but I literally just got bad luck.
And that happens too. I think that first one I was feeling pretty good about it, and it was unfortunate that I kind of just steamrolled you. But I had taken the Borderlords, or been given the Borderlords. I randomized it, which have a combat benefit if they're close to the border of the circle, by 3 hexes. So I would like camp out, like stay close to it, and I was forced to outrun it anyway throughout a big chunk of the game. Whereas in the second game, I was in the circle pretty much the whole time, and nothing really went wrong except for like having to go around a mountain range, maybe. But that's not necessarily a bad thing. You can use it to your advantage.
Yeah. I think the mode is cool. I think they've managed to implement it quite well. I was thinking about it the other day, and I was like, oh, how do I rank this out of the battle royales I played? And I realised it is at the bottom, but only because I played like 4 or 5 battle royales in total.
Yeah.
But it's an interesting concept. I think they did well with implementing it. Good on the devs for making something interesting.
I'd like to see AI improved.
Oh yeah, there was a really weird thing where like the raiders, who are like a factionless AI, were really, really strong and like powerful and kind of badass. But the actual other factions that were AI based that we played against, you just steamrolled them. Like I said, I wiped out 2 of them in my first round of it, where I had no idea what I was doing. The fact that I was just able to kill them without suffering any losses when I did not know how the game worked should be testament to just how poor the faction AI is.
Yeah.
And the thing is, it doesn't make sense because the Raider AI is really quite good and fairly strong in comparison.
I still think it's because they throw a protection target in the mix, like and since they can't place a settlement, they're just like wandering around, and they're just sitting in a place where they would place a settlement maybe, but they can't because it's not a settlement unit; it's a civilian that you're just supposed to protect. But yes, so 2 of the civilian convoys ended up of other computer players ended up in almost the same exact spot, and I like killed them both one after another in the final round Sarge and I played, because like they weren't doing anything; they were just sitting there. And there was no other units around.
There were a few times where it was like, oh, I've just encountered this faction. And by the end of a turn, it was, oh, this faction's now wiped out.
Yeah, it was silly. It was pretty silly. I do understand why it's promoted as a multiplayer mode.
Other than Civ 6, what you been playing?
Oh, Borderlands 3. I think I was playing that a little bit with Dakoba, which was fun. And Fallout 76, played some Fashnacht with you and with myself and other people in the community that showed up. I can't name them all because there was quite a few.
That's good.
And played some Skyrim, and I streamed it on Discord, and I recorded and made a video on it, which will be up by the time this goes up, because I uploaded it yesterday.
Yep.
5 best unique bows in Skyrim. Go watch it.
It was premiered as well.
Yeah, and something happened. I can't tell you what, but something happened.
Oh. We are recording this like half an hour before the premiere goes out, to be clear. So we have no idea what we go on there. But the premiere's like a live stream of a video, for those who don't know. So it means you can just chat along as the video plays.
Yeah. So what have you been doing and playing?
Well, obviously, I've been playing lots of Fastnacht 76, because right now there's a double XP weekend and the Fastnacht event, where you get like masks and plans and stuff. I mentioned earlier, there is one more mask I need to get, and then I'm done with Fastnacht for now. Because it's been going on it ended up being extended to like 2 weeks rather than 1 week, so I've just got to get that final mask, then I'm all good and done, and then I can go back to just base game, and I've got a fair few things. I'm going to be making a video where I craft 120 Secret Service armor pieces, because Caedo was with me in game when I realised that to craft a Secret Service armor piece takes 1 legendary module, and I had bought 118 at the time because I thought it would take several legendary modules per piece. So that's going to be fun.
It'll take several per set.
Yeah. I mean, with 5 legendary modules, you can craft a full set with randomize effects. So I can make 24 of each piece, a torso, each arm, each leg. I can make 24 of each of them.
That's so
And
absurd.
I've got all the materials for it.
And
so
you're
fun.
definitely going to make a video on it.
Yep, I'm going to record the whole process. Because I've also got tons of script, I'll probably also try my luck with the Purveyor at the same time.
Oh, okay.
I might end up doing that as well, because there's a chance I'll get them from her, who knows. But yeah, that'll be fun. And I've got some more in-depth, actual, work-heavy videos to work on as well. So I've got too much to do at 76. But despite that, I have been playing a few games, because I just needed to kind of chill out and relax my mind a bit. Which is something I'm sure a lot of us need to do right now. So I played Black Ops 2. I've been playing that on PC against bots. Just been having lots of fun with that. Just casual, mindless, daka. I very much enjoy it. I find it a good game for if I need to get myself kind of hyped up, but don't want to have to worry about like super competitiveness, because I can just play against the AI. I'm going to do well, because I've played a lot of Black Ops 2. So I know the game very well. I'm quite good at first-person shooters. I'm not like, oh my god, I'm top 1% or whatever, but I'm good enough that I can play them reasonably well and just have a good time in them.
I think Sarge is being modest.
No.
MLG Pro!
No, I want to make it very clear that I'm not a pro. Like, although once again, playing against bots, but I did have a beautiful shotgun-only game where I was just using a shotgun against all the bots, and I ended up with a 51 KD. That was lovely. That was such a satisfying, 10 minutes, where I literally I died once. It was great.
Wow.
Where I just kept going around with a shotgun. I timed my reloads perfectly. It was a work of beauty. I like the tactical sides of first-person shooters more than the people who are able to pinpoint accuracy within 0.2 milliseconds or whatever. Mm-hmm. So yeah. Other than that though, I also ended up picking up Space Hulk Tactics on Steam, because that was on sale recently. And for anyone who's played Space Hulk, basically exactly the same. For those who haven't played Space Hulk, you should play Space Hulk. It's a good game. It's Warhammer 40,000. You play as the Blood Ravens in Terminator armor, which is very similar to huge power armor, and you're going aboard a Space Hulk, which is a flying destroyed, giant, massive, world-sized spaceship. And there's tons of gene stealers. Think of them similar to the aliens from the Alien franchise, who are going around and trying to kill you. It's tactical kind of turn-based stuff. There is also a first-person mode, though, where you can actually look at all the Terminators, and Warhammer games and Warhammer 40k games have really good visuals in them most of the time. That is something they do very well. So it all looks really cool. It's a lot of fun. It's a very tactical game. You have to actually think about it. It's hard if you make a mistake. Like, you make one stupid mistake, you're dead. However, if you play well, really think things out, then it feels like a walk in the park.
That sounds like XCOM.
The problem is, a lot of
Kinda.
reviews for the game compare it to XCOM and have people getting annoyed.
Oh, really?
So I specifically didn't want to compare it to XCOM.
Okay, maybe it sounds like Phoenix Point.
Possibly. Yeah, it doesn't play in the same way as XCOM at all. Like, it's tile-based. It's based on a literal board game. But it's really cool. I would recommend taking a look at it. If you can, watch some like videos of it, whatever. See if it's something you might like. I have tons of fun with it, because I played the board game when I was younger. Final game I've been playing, Final Fantasy IX, because that's my childhood game. I love it. It's great. And when I need to just relax, detach myself from the world,
It's a good game.
and just go to my happy place. My happy place is a video game.
That's
I
okay.
just go play Final Fantasy IX.
Yeah,
And it's lots of fun. And I'm badass at it as well.
yeah. I mean, where else can you make friends with a Moogle who wears camo named Stiltskin?
Oh, Stiltskin's so cool. He like sells me stuff that's really good and great price.
I was actually talking about Final Fantasy IX in my Patreon monthly update.
Ooh, that's good. People should talk about Final Fantasy IX all the time. I was very glad to see in my friends list on Discord, I'm checking if it's happening right now. It's not happening right now. That one of the people on my friends list, Top Orange, was playing Final Fantasy VIII several times. 'Cause that's a great game as well.
Yeah. I may never complete that game.
Oh man. Okay, I've got to ask now, what point did you make it up to?
It's been so long.
Yeah.
The last time I played, I think, was on my crap top in trade school, which would have been 2012, 2011-ish.
Man, that's a long time ago.
Yeah.
I mean, as the game progresses, it gets more and more insane. Like, Final Fantasy VIII is even known within, like, the Final Fantasy games to be kind of out there and mental.
Mm-hmm.
It starts out fairly normal as far as a fantasy game can go, and then just gets progressively more crazy. Because I'm guessing you've never dealt with time compression then. Because, yeah, if you didn't make it to the end, no time compression.
No.
Which, oh man, I'd highly recommend playing it, because the insanity of it all is kind of fun.
Okay. Maybe.
Anyway,
Maybe.
maybe I'll just ship you 20 copies of the game, so you have to play it.
I already have it on Steam.
Do you have it on the PS1 though?
Yeah.
Oh, that's fine then. Okay. Well, Caedo is now heading off to play Final Fantasy VIII for 5 days straight.
No.
Come on, you know you want
I have
to.
Legend of Dragoon there too. I haven't even touched that game, but I want to play it. I have Jade Cocoon also. I have like an annual playthrough. I do that. Jade Cocoon's so good, dude.
I've never heard of it, I'm afraid.
Yeah. You play Jade Cocoon, I'll play Final Fantasy VIII.
Oh, that's a tough one. Anyway, that is it for the PIPCAST.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you all for tuning in. As we mentioned at the start, there's a lot of very important real-world stuff, so if you didn't click on the links at the beginning, go down into the description, click on some of them now, as well as stuff to educate. I've had a few donation links for if you have excess money that you can spare to just help, because money always helps.
Mm-hmm.
Stay informed, do your best to help people, and be a good person.
Yeah. And stay safe.